Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre of Majestic Wire Artworks. In this video, we're going to make these Simply Sweet earrings. I've made them with turquoise and raw copper, and I'll have the supply list up shortly for you. And I just want to invite you to like my video and subscribe. And if you want to support my videos for future to keep this channel going, please join a membership. That's the join button that's beside the subscribe button. I usually don't check it on my phone, but I'm told it doesn't show up on the phone, so you have to be on a computer to find that join button for the memberships. If anybody knows how to find the join button on a phone, please leave a message. And I actually encourage all of you to leave as many messages as you can in my videos, because it really helps my videos get out there, and it helps me in a good way too. Okay, well, let's get on with it and I'll show you the supplies. Okay, so for supplies and tools for this video, you're going to need 2 6mm round beads, is what I'm using, but you can use rondelles as well. 2 7-inch pieces, which is 17.5 centimeters of 20 gauge dead soft wire, which is 0.8 millimeters in metric. I'm using raw copper. Ear wires of choice, chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, and flush cutters. Now, I didn't put a ruler on the list. It's standard supply. But definitely you need a ruler. You always need a ruler. And, you know, for rulers, I might as well talk about it now. I would like you to have metric as well as imperial. So inches and centimeters, because you need them both. If, you know, you could go all metric. Because you could go all metric, but you know, sometimes it's easier to have both. And the reason I recommend a clear one is so, say you have beads at home and you're not sure how large they are, you just put them behind the millimeters there. Those small marks are millimeters. Where the numbers are, that's centimeters for those that aren't familiar with metric. And you can very easily measure them by putting them like that. And if you don't have the proper tools, I forget what it's called. Shoot, I don't know how many of them, but I just do this because I always have my ruler handy, and there it is. So, you know, that's just my little tip for the day. Anyways, so that's what you need for supplies, and we might as well get started. So I'm going to put my beads where they won't roll away. So I want you to start off with grabbing your 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire and give them a slight bend at the middle. And then I want you to take your chain nose pliers. And by the way, we'll be doing both earrings simultaneously, not for the sake of mirroring, which we can. You don't have to mirror these earrings. So what if, you know, if you want to, you can. If you don't, you don't. But what I need you to do is make a crisp bend, like a 90-degree bend at the center. And that's just so that it hugs up to the bead better. Because if you don't do that, it's not going to hug up to the bead properly, and it's going to look sloppy. Okay, especially if you're going to use a rondelle crystal, you don't want to break the bead. Okay, so now grab one of your beads and then hold it like this. This is actually upside down, and push it. See how it's not getting airspace? Now, if you didn't have that crisp bend, you would get a bump with a great big airspace in there, and we don't want that. And then you're going to hold the bead in that corner, and you're going to wrap around the bead the rest of the way like that. And now Now this, you're going to get a bump here because we couldn't avoid it, but at least that's going to be the back. And there. Oh, I didn't do too bad. I really pushed as I did it. Okay, and you want to kind of wrap it as neat as you can and up around the beads. It looks like this. Okay, so now if you want to mirror, the only part you're going to really mirror, I guess there could be two areas where you can mirror. But, you know, I recommend not mirroring these. It's just going to be easier. I'll see if we can figure out how to mirror the top part, but I wouldn't stress out about mirroring for sure. Okay, so I want you to do precisely that. And see how I went. Well, I'm just going to demonstrate it. I'm getting too complicated for myself. Now, we went like this and went around like that. This time, we're going to put the bead on the opposite side. So we had the bead on the left side. We're going to put the bead on the right side and do exactly the same process. Okay, so, and what it did, see how that bend is just, there we go. I better finish that off or else I'm going to get that airspace. Okay. Okay, I do have some airspace there. I'm going to crimp it in. And doing this with a crystal, put yourself at risk. This is a genuine turquoise, and it's still a fragile stone, but not as fragile as glass. Okay, there we go. So, see how that's opposite. And it's going to look the same from the back as the front. The back and the front are identical. So it doesn't matter what's front and what's back at this point because it's identical. Okay, so the next thing we got to make sure is that this wire is straight. So I am just straightening it with my pliers. And you know, this work hardens it too, so it's good to do. You can't do this with a nylon pair of pliers because you can't get in there. Okay, so then the next step is, because we're going to make it teardrop shape. And if we're going to reverse it, I have a feeling that the plan would be is whatever side we have on top on this one, we have the opposite one on top on the other one, and that should reverse the top. That's just what my brain is telling me right now, and I'm going to go with it. Okay, so we want to make a nice small teardrop shape. What you think, and we're eyeballing it here, what you think looks good. This is a dainty pair of earrings, so you don't want it too big. And also, if you keep it small, it's stronger. Okay, so I just made it. Am I happy with that size? I think I wanted even a tiny bit smaller than that. So in order to do that, because it springs back, oh, that's perfect. Okay, and it's staying by itself. Now I want to do the same size with the other one, and I'm going to have the opposite one in front. And you got to compare. And this is why you have to make it simultaneously, basically. So that one is still bigger, so I have to tighten it up a little bit more. And if I got it too tight, then I have to loosen it. I need to loosen it a little bit. So go like this. And you just keep fiddling with it till they're the same. And I'd say we're at that point right now. I'd say that they're the same. Okay. So then the next step, now we have the size, and we need to keep that size. Very important, is we're going to support the wires very firmly. I'm squeezing very tightly between my finger and my thumb. And I'm going to twist. Once, twice, like that. Okay, and the other one's going to twist the opposite way. So support it, and I'm going to, no, I was going to say flip it upside down, but no. Once, twice. And now I'm hoping that the twisting is equal in distance. And I think that it is a little bit looser on this one. So what I'm going to do is just tighten it up like that and loosen it up on top. And what it did is it tightened this up, and then I just undid a little bit, and that should have shortened it so that they're the same. And I would say that they're the same now. Okay, so if it's like less than a millimeter, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Now the next thing you're going to do is pick one side to do your loop. And I'm gonna do, well, actually, take your round nose pliers and make a loop for the top of your earring. So you don't want a big loop, you want a fairly small loop. And I'm using that bend, I'm just leaving it, and then I'm coming back towards the center to make the loop. Okay, and now I'm going to wrap around down the spiral, and this is going to stay up. I don't want that, I want to wrap it like this, and that's going to lock the twisting in place so it can't get undone. Okay, so I've got two, it is two wraps. It looks like 3, but it's 2. Okay, and that just locks it in place. Okay, so now I'm going to snip that off and crimp it in. And maybe I won't crimp it, just snip it as close as possible, because if we crimp it in, we could distort the wire. So I'm just, if you haven't snipped close as possible like this, then just snip closer a second time. Okay, and at this point we're going to do the exact same thing with the other one. Okay, so that is the front and that is the back, but the back is going to become the front. Okay. That's what we got to do. Okay, so I chose, I guess it doesn't really matter. Not sure at this point how to make them opposite, but I think it's going to end up being opposite. And 1, 2, oh, no, maybe 2.5 wraps. Just closing those up, crimping in as tight as possible. I mean, snipping off, sorry. Okay. Now, do they look similar? You don't look, they are opposite. You know how I know they're opposite? Is because this wire is going in the opposite direction. So, perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so the front is going to be, and this is going to dictate it, the front is going to be whichever side that the wire is in front of the loop. And we're going to bend that forwards, like that. And you might as well do it for the other one. Bend it forward. Okay. And then you're going to measure from the bend. You're going to measure 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters. Yeah, as long as they're both the same. That's an approximate measurement. So I'm going to go 2 centimeters because to me metric is easier for this, more precise. And what I usually do is I usually cut it a little bit longer and then snip off to the exact amount, because that way I'm more accurate. So I look, measure it, and it's only about whoa, sorry, I'm not in the camera. It's only about 1 millimeter longer, and I can eyeball that millimeter and just cut it off like that. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. Oh, it ended up being not even 1 millimeter longer. See, it's so easy to make that little error. And if I wouldn't have done it long, what I thought was longer, I would have cut it too short. Okay, so now we're going to do a spiral that covers up the wrapping as best we can. And then this one's on the right hand side, approximately. So it's going to go inwards this way. And the other one's on the other side, so it's going to go inwards that way. And that way, these earrings will be completely mirrored. Okay. So I'm just going towards the center. So the first thing of making that spiral is to make that first teeny tiny little bend. Okay, gotta see where it's at. I want it a little bit more than that to work with. Okay, so it's like that. So a nice little hook. And I know it takes practice. And then crimp it down to be like that. And then crimp this way to tuck it back. And that way you can try and make a bud. I call it the bud, with as little airspace in there as possible. Okay. And then continue making your spiral. And if you have airspace in a spot, I don't, but if I did, I would crimp it in like this. And you just go down till you meet the earring, and it's like this, and then you just bend it down. Now if you wanted this spiral to be bigger, you could cut it to be 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters. I notice that my earring is a little off. Got got to make sure that it's parallel to the bottom where the bead is. And that one's done. Just needs ear wire. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Now, I'm just doing the same thing all over again, so I'm going to just pause it for this. Okay, so I've got the second one done, and see how it reversed it just from being on the opposite side. Okay, and let's just see how one is smaller than the other, and I was trying to be so careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this a little bit to adjust the size. And then I will have to, and it's because I probably did this. Did it just undo what I did? I'm going to flip this up, bring it over. Now I need to straighten this out without marring it, so I'm being very gentle. Okay, I think that's pretty close. So it's a delicate procedure. They look simple, but they're harder than they look. Okay. And they don't take a lot of time. So what you can do, if you can never get it to quite match, if it's close enough to get away with, then it's fine. If not, then you could make another one and another pair trying to match that. I'm just going to flip this around one whole time in hopes that that does the trick. And I think it did. I think I'm pretty close. Okay. Now, these spirals always get marring. So what you can do is you can take your file, and I'm going to grab mine. You know, it can be an emery board. It could be a nail file. It could be, you know, the kind that's rough. And then make it brushed metal, meant to have that look like I have it in past projects. So it gets a brushed metal look. And then the next thing to do is just to put your ear wires on. You could have stud ear wires made. You could have, you know, the ear wires you buy from the store. Or you could have your homemade ear wires. It's up to you what you prefer. You might have lever back ear wires. And they're done. Aren't they pretty? Well, thank you for joining me in this video. I invite you to share my video with others, especially if, you know, you enjoyed it and you want to share in a group, or, you know, it could be a group where they share tutorials. This is a free tutorial, so, of course you can share. And, please like it, my video, and leave a comment. Please, as many comments as I can get, the better it is for me. And I really appreciate each and every comment, even if it's just a heart. Just let me know that you watched it, you liked it, and I appreciate it. Thank you to all you that do. I have regular ones that do it every time, and I really appreciate all of you. Okay, so God bless. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.